Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the patch that just came out in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. It is November 8th, 2019. A ton of amazing stuff came out in this patch. I'm going to go through, I'm going to talk about the biggest things. I'm not going to talk about everything because there are some little things like map environment stuff that they went ahead and they fixed, but I'm going to stick to the bigger things, the stuff that's been plaguing us since the very beginning of the release of this game. So with that, let's go ahead and hop right into it. First of all, sprint and tactical sprint speeds have been reduced back to how they were in the beta. So since full release, everything was a little bit slower. They slowed it down at full release. Since then, they went ahead and they moved it back to how it was in the beta. So now you're going to sprint a little bit faster, and your tactical sprint is going to be a little bit faster. When it comes to the riot shield, they've done a little bit of work with the explosive splash damage. So what's affected, what's not. They said they're going to continue to tune it. So we'll kind of stick by the riot shield, and hopefully they continue to work on that a little bit, because right now it's a little broken. As we move forward, big thing here, Claymores. So they went ahead, they made them not as lethal, and they don't have quite as big of a damage width as they did before. So again, anything that they can do to fix Claymores is a good thing, and they looks like that they've went ahead, they've reduced the trigger, the damage radius, all that good stuff, so you're not going to be quite as injured by Claymores anymore. They were absolutely brutal before, so hopefully this should peel back how many people are using these stupid things. Next thing is battle chatter. So again, enemies running and you show up on their screen but they might not see you, then your guy in game would go ahead and say enemy over there or whatever. So they went ahead and they reduced that to where the cone is not quite as big. So unless you're really looking at somebody, then your character is not going to just yell out whenever they see somebody. So big fix with battle chatter. This happens all the time. I'm trying to flank around an enemy, somebody randomly sees me on the corner of their screen, but the person doesn't actually see me. They call me out, I die. It literally just drives me crazy. So seems like they fixed that a little bit. Next, mounting. When you mounted, your gun wouldn't really recoil all that much, and it should be pretty detrimental, right? If you're mounting over something and you see somebody, then you should probably lose that gun battle. So they fixed that, so hopefully you lose more of those. Next thing to talk about would be footsteps. So finally, they went ahead and they adjusted the footstep volume a little bit. They do say at the end of this that they have another large footstep change coming in the next update, but for now, at least, it seems like there's a little bit of a fix. They won't be quite as loud as they were before. Footsteps, huge change there. A couple other things in terms of like your progression, your ranks, your gun challenges. One of the gun challenges, such as the M4, you have to get kills after a reload, and it was really hard to get that. I have a gold M4. You're watching it on screen right now. But those kills were extremely hard to do, so it seems like they've lengthened that time for after a reload for those kills to count towards that challenge. So big change there. Next thing is all about the different weapons, and we'll go ahead and we'll end on this. But essentially, the 725 shotgun, finally, they went ahead and they reduced that damage range, and they increased the ADS speed and the hip spread. So this thing, hopefully, they went ahead and they reduced this thing. It's not going to hurt quite as much at quite a long range. It's going to take a little bit longer to ADS, and the hip spread's not going to be quite as well. So finally, some changes to the 725. That gun was driving me crazy. Assault rifles as whole were increased a little bit, but the M4A1 specifically, they reduced the damage range as well as they increased the recoil a little bit. So I'm sure the M4 will still be good, but hopefully it won't be as dominant as it was before. All assault rifles, they increased the hip spread to reduce effectiveness up close. So that way, if you're running and somebody's running at you with an SMG, you are basically even going to win that battle if you had an assault rifle. So now hopefully you'll lose that a little bit because of the SMG buff, which we'll talk about now. So SMGs, they increased your movement speed, they increased the ADS speed, and they gave a small reduction in sprint out time. So you're sprinting, you see somebody, that sprint out time was reduced a little bit. So SMGs got a huge buff. I didn't use SMGs hardly at all before. I like the MP5, the MP7, the P90, stuff like that, but they weren't viable in terms of when everybody had a 725 or an M4. So they went ahead and they increased the SMGs, gave them a pretty big buff. The Uzi was pretty terrible, the Uzi SMG, so they also increased that damage range. The MG34, that LMG, the M91 LMG, and the PKM LMG got a pretty big nerf. They increased the hip spread, and then they changed the damage range, and they made the ADS slow down a little bit. And then there were small damage range for the M91 in terms of how far it does damage, and the PKM got a pretty large damage range reduction. So LMG's PKM was out of this world good, so it looks like they've scaled that back a little bit. In terms of pistols, they gave, you know, just some little things here and there. They increased the movement speed, reduced the sprint out time. Last couple things. So the last thing that I'll talk about is the Call of Duty League. So now if you're playing a private match, you're playing Game Battles matches or UMG or any of those matches, there are now updated rule sets for the CDL competitive modes in private matches. So if you're going to be playing Game Battles matches or UMG matches, you can now go ahead and just hop into those, and it will make everything a lot simpler for you. So huge patch here. There are a little bit more to it if you play Spec Ops and stuff like that, but my channel basically revolves around multiplayer, so those are what I went ahead and included in this video. The link will be down below to the Reddit post if you want to go through and read it by yourself. But with that, if you're not subscribed, please do so. At my last glance, about 65% of people that are watching my videos are not subscribed, so throw a subscription in there. Don't leave without leaving a like, and thank you guys so much for the support. I'll catch you in the next one. Have a good rest of your day.